My name is Joey Barkley, and I'm a Senior Solutions Engineer on the federal team at Okta. Before coming here, though, I was actually an Okta customer. I've worn a lot of hats during my career, including software QA, development, and probably at the last, cybersecurity engineering. I also teach as an adjunct instructor in computer science and cybersecurity at Freed-Hardeman University in Henderson, Tennessee. Now, during my time as a contractor with the Department of Energy, I implemented Okta for my project site, and then I also implemented it for a separate DoD contractor customer as well. Implementing Okta was the first time that I'd implemented a solution for cybersecurity purposes that made security better and improved the end user experience all at the same time. And I know it sounds a little cheesy, but I wanted to share that experience with others to help them too. I've heard that you never get a second chance to make a first impression, and identity is the first thing that users experience when accessing digital services. Because of that, it's vital to get that first interaction right. You've got to make it fast, easy, and secure. That all makes for a very tall order. But once you do, you can reinforce that great impression with every digital interaction that they have with you after that point. Let me give you an example. Enrollment and registration. That relates to how simple and smooth the first login is for the end user. Does it force the creation of a new account, or does it allow reuse of existing ones that are appropriate for the service, like either social login or even login.gov? Account security is basically saying how well the service protects your credentials and your data. Are strong phishing-resistant authentication options available? And then, ongoing access. Are secure passwordless login options available, or does it require you to remember or retrieve a password? Do you need to enter some type of one-time passcode, or does the solution make strong phishing-resistant authenticators possible? Those are some of the areas where you can make a great impression with a best-of-breed cloud-native identity solution provider. Every public sector organization wants to connect with people digitally. The federal government as a whole is working to improve online services to serve the nation better and to help rebuild trust in the government. The Department of Defense needs modern digital services to attract recruits, serve warfighters and their families, and to serve our veterans. State and local governments also are working to make online services better and faster, and expand availability and simplify experiences. Higher education institutions want to attract new applicants, serve students and their families, and connect with alumni and donors. These are just a few of the reasons why public sector organizations are focused on these services. Previously, we were focused on the idea that every device is connected, but more recently we've started to realize that it's a person who's connected through multiple devices. It doesn't matter if I'm using my phone, a library workstation, or the touchscreen in a car. I am connected to the internet through the portal of that device. Private sector organizations typically are ultimately concerned with making customers happy so that an individual would choose to do business with the organization in question. But Executive Order 14058 states that government must design and deliver services in a manner that people of all abilities can navigate, to modernize and implement services that are simple to use, accessible, equitable, protective, transparent, and responsive for all people of the United States. That EO basically lays out the why for transformation in pretty candid detail. Well, I mentioned that I lecture in cybersecurity for college students. It doesn't take a college degree, though, for a person to know that cybersecurity incidents are increasing each year and not going down in frequency. Phishing attacks, brute force attacks, and email compromise are just some of the tactics that adversaries use to gain unauthorized access to legitimate accounts. For years, the cyber community held users responsible for strong passwords, making sure you use a unique password for each account, change them often, and lots of other requirements that normal human beings just can't keep up with. Today, modern identity takes away the burden of passwords and cyber vigilance from end users. For example, it uses multiple factors to help an account owner prove that they are, in fact, the owner of said account. Modern identity also uses new approaches for online account verification because it assumes that personal information on practically every American is already out there. It no longer relies on basic information like social security numbers, addresses, dates of birth, mother's maiden names, and maybe even your favorite kindergarten teacher, or any number of other questions that are available in a 5-minute internet search. So the 1-2 punch to defend against identity theft is strong phishing-resistant authentication and modern online identity proofing. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services collaborated with the U.S. Digital Service to build the Quality Payment Program interface. It was centered around shifting U.S. healthcare to a value-based payment model and away from a traditional fee-for-service model. That's one example. Several other great examples come from that Executive Order 14058 that we talked about earlier. The title of that is Transforming Federal Customer Experience and Service Delivery to Rebuild Trust in Government. For example, it directed the General Services Administration, or GSA, to reimagine USA.gov to become a centralized digital federal front door for Americans to access all government benefits, services, and programs. It also directed the Treasury Department to deliver new online tax payment tools and enable people to schedule customer support telephone callbacks. Those are just a few examples of those digital customer services that we were talking about. Well, Login.gov is the U.S. government's approach to public-facing identity. It's a vision of a single credential for the entire U.S. federal government. If you want to make Login.gov available for your online services, you probably should look at Okta. We make it very fast and extremely easy to use Login.gov in your application or applications. Also remember that Americans prefer choice, and not everyone wants or needs a Login.gov account. So by selecting Okta, you provide that choice, and if Login.gov becomes a part of your solution, integration with your existing identity infrastructure is just a few clicks away. Every organization, even in the public sector, is challenged to stay ahead of today's rapidly changing technology. Public sector organizations are applying human-centered design principles when developing modern app experiences, and with limited resources, to be honest, they've got their work cut out for them. Identity and access management is itself a technology discipline that's quickly evolving and changing rapidly. For example, 10 years ago, or even 5 years ago, you would have thought that a secure passwordless login experience wasn't even something that would be possible. But today it is, and it's changing every modern authentication experience from e-commerce to online banking and everything in between. For those reasons, public sector organizations can stay ahead by focusing their expertise on their core missions while leaving identity and access management to our experts. Well, I know each organization is different and they need to do what is appropriate to achieve their mission. But as a former practitioner and supervisor, there are a few general areas I would suggest that every agency should consider. First, work with a trusted identity partner to develop a solid identity strategy. At Okta, we often use the terms customer and partner interchangeably. We aren't just selling something to them. We also collaborate with the agencies that utilize our identity services to help them maximize the value of our solutions in their environments. In other words, if the customer is not successful, we are not successful. That's what makes a good partnership. Next, I'd say that you should allow your team members the opportunity to attend training and access documentation related to your solution. And that doesn't just mean developers. All roles should be allowed to participate in training appropriate to their station. DevSecOps and Agile development practices have moved us towards the idea of cross-functional teams, and identity is a crucial building block that all team members should be familiar with. Finally, don't wait to modernize your SIAM infrastructure. Okta provides solutions that help organizations bridge the gap between their modern cloud-based identities and their legacy applications. Moving the customer-facing identity portal to Okta allows agencies and organizations to give their target audience an experience that will be equitable to the appropriate level of security to protect their data, while enabling them to modernize the application infrastructure on the back end. Cloud service providers like Okta keep their services modern, patched, and future-proofed continually. Also, cloud-based solutions are more efficient, scalable, and frankly, reliable than on-premises technology that agencies deploy themselves. Next, demand federal cloud authorizations. In the U.S. public sector, the federal government requires cloud service providers to achieve FedRAMP authorizations. Okta has achieved both FedRAMP moderate and high for the use cases that our customers require. On the DoD side, Okta.mil can service up to Impact Level 5 use cases with our IL4 certified service. You also want to look for scalability and reliability. I know I talked about that a moment ago, but it bears repeating. If your target audience can't log in, then they can't use your application. I know that seems obvious when I say it out loud, but it's sometimes overlooked when agencies and organizations are evaluating possible solutions. And lastly, listen to industry analysts. I mean, they listen to you and countless other organizations for feedback about technology leaders. Choose an identity leader like Okta that scores well not only in our vision on modern identity, but also in our ability to execute on what we promise.